Welcome to the Golf Improvement Podcast, Episode 3.
Welcome to the podcast for golf lovers and enthusiasts who are looking to take their games to new heights. Dedicated to custom club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice to improve your golf game. This is the Golf Improvement Podcast with your host, Tony Wright.
Hello, this is Tony Wright from Game Improvement Golf in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, with the Golf Improvement Podcast, dedicated to bringing you useful information on custom club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice techniques to take your game to new heights. Today, I hope you will enjoy the recent interview I did with Glen Coombe, the putting doctor, a mentor, good friend, and an expert in helping golfers to improve their putting. Glen will provide you with some useful insights related to putting compensations and how we can reduce them to help improve our putting. You might notice that I've titled this episode, Episode 3. Well, the last episode I called Episode 2, but in the show notes it said Episode 1, so I thought perhaps it might be time to get things all on the same page and not confuse you with these podcasts. Since we're talking about putters today, I wanted to mention a few of the key tasks I think that are important for golfers to accomplish to help them putt their best. And a lot of these tasks are focused around one key word, and I would call that word awareness. Awareness is a big deal in terms of you identifying the things you need to do to putt your best. The first element that I think where awareness is really important is in the area of putter fitting. Many people, I saw it the other day at a golf course I play at a lot, standing there in the pro shop and feeling that putter and taking a few swipes with it and saying, wow, this feels good. Well, putter fitting is more than just feeling good. It's about a putter that's the right length and lie angle to fit your body and to help you be in a balanced position and to help you have your eyes either right over the ball or just inside the ball at address, and to be very comfortable and neutral and natural in your setup. Putter fitting is about having a putter that you can aim correctly at the hole. About two years ago, when I was first truly fit for a putter, I had one that I aimed 8 inches left from 6 feet away from the hole. 8 inches left. And I've seen many people that have had putters that were that kind of where they had that kind of aim, and they simply didn't know it. Awareness is very important. And then finally, speed control is a huge element of putter fitting, and that relates to having the right head weight, but also having counterweight in your putter to help you have a smooth stroke and to be able to control the speed in your putting stroke. So that's one of the key things in terms of awareness. The second is understanding your own putting stroke and being aware, for example, of what your misses are and how you might do things to improve based on those misses and being aware of them. I had an instance like this in my putting about a couple of weeks ago. I was playing with a few of my friends, and I was on the 9th green. This was actually a guy who was a pretty high handicap player, but shot even par in the front 9. But I watched his stroke, and he had a very long backswing and a very short follow-through. And all of a sudden, the light went on. I've been having some issues with getting the ball to the hole in my putting stroke, leaving a lot of putts short, and I realized that I was doing something very similar. I wasn't taking a stroke that, as you'll hear from Glen later today, is more neutral and natural, where you go what we would call 2 back and 3 forward. So if your backstroke was 2 inches, your forward stroke would be about 3 inches, and a stroke where you're naturally accelerating through the stroke instead of decelerating. So I realized once I did that, it made a huge difference in my putting almost immediately, and I started more easily getting the ball to the hole and a little past in my stroke. And then the third element that I would say is very important is once you've identified some of those things that you need to improve based on looking at what you normally do in your putting and how you want to improve them, then is to find ways to practice effectively and to accomplish some tasks to help you to do that. Whether that's to do some putting in your basement and set up a little routine or a setup where you practice getting your eyes over the ball, or you practice a stroke that's 2 back and 3 forward, or whatever it is, to just spend a few minutes every day working on some of those things that are areas where you know you need to improve. Or when you go out to the course, spend 10 or 15 minutes putting and work on those specific things that you have identified as areas for improvement, and see if you can get things so that you're starting to become more natural in your stroke and implementing them so that you've made those improvements that you're interested in doing. So, putter fitting, awareness of your stroke and the things to improve, and effective practice to help you lock those things into your game. But then I want to just come back as we end here with that other word again that I mentioned in the beginning, awareness. Awareness is a really big deal, in all elements of your golf game. But boy, it's a big deal if you want to be the best putter you can be.
Taking your game to new heights. www.gameimprovementgolf.com.
Hello, this is Tony Wright in the Golf Improvement Podcast. Today I'm speaking with my very good friend Glen Coombe, the putting doctor from Ocala, Florida. I first met Glen at a AGCP fitters meeting. I think it was roughly 5 years ago, and he was demonstrating the Science in Motion Putt Lab system. And when I decided I needed to get one of those, he was the person to go to, and he has been my mentor in terms of helping me understand how to effectively use that system to help golfers improve their putting, and with almost any question about putting improvement. So, Glen, good morning.
Well, good morning, Tony. Thanks for having me join you today.
We're going to have a lot of fun and hopefully provide some information to help golfers putt better. How about that?
Well, I'm just thrilled that we're beginning to see a uptick in the interest in putting. I've always said that putting was the redheaded stepchild of golf, even though it accounts for upwards of half of the strokes taken for most players during a round. Very few people give putting the due attention, let alone investing in custom fit putters.
That's right. Well, why don't we start out, I always like to let people tell their story a little bit about how they kind of got where they are, and why don't you do that?
Well, it's been a long and twisted road, but as an apprentice in the PGA program, I opened the PGA teaching manual one day to figure out how I was going to help my senior demographic at a Florida retirement community to play better. And I knew right off the bat that full swing wasn't the most effective game improvement for the senior golfer, and I had thought that short game, chipping, pitching, and putting would be the route to success. When I opened the teaching manual, I couldn't find anything on putting, and I asked my head professional whether I was missing something, and he quickly said, "Yes, you are," because it's not in the manual. And luckily, my education simply equipped me to be an educator, so I followed the lead of some of the folks I had worked with in my early career and developed a lesson plan that I could teach my members, and it went to being written down so they would be able to re-experience what I had taught them and to practice, the big operative word there, practice.
Yeah.
And along the way, it went from a full 8.5, 11 typewritten to what is now a 12-page booklet and a training aid with color photos. And it became my clinic, which I perform all over the country. And I tell folks, be careful what you wish for when I'm speaking with PGA members and folks like you coming up and acquiring Sam Putt Lab, because originally I had planned to write similar lesson plans for chipping and pitching. Almost 25 years later, I'm still stuck on putting, and my copyright passed its 21st birthday already this year.
Wow. Well, but you're stuck in a good place, right? I think.
Be careful what you wish
Yeah,
for.
right,
and it's better than having a real job.
Well, Glenn, when we talked about preparing for this, what I hoped would do is talk some about putting compensations. I don't know why that sort of phrase kept coming up, but I think it was related to some of the early things you sent to me. But I'd like to talk about kind of one of my favorite areas of it, and that is related to the grip, both the putting your hands on the putter and also the grip, and it's either being on correctly or not on correctly on the putter. So how about a little bit of discussion on that?
Oh, indeed. And when folks meet me, generally the first thing I will look at is actually the physical grip as it was applied to the putter. Square has no reference even on new putters at times. A putter that has been regripped may get manhandled prior to really setting up and being firm. So if you have a flat face on your putter grip, simply from above, sight down the face of the putter grip and compare it to the aim line and or the perpendicular angle of the putter face, and see if you don't see a perfectly square, and I do mean all the way down the face, no twists, no turns, no minor variations. I'm really picky about square grips, and one university team that I worked with as I installed a Sam Putt Lab had 6 of 12 elite golfers with grips.
Wow.
What I call on sideways.
Yeah.
It was no surprise to me that the weekend following my midweek time with them that they ran away with the event they were at, and I simply claim I straightened their grips out. So when we go to placing the hands on the putter, I have in the last 5 or 6 years asked many a golfer, why would you change the grip you use for the other 13 clubs in your bag for the club you use most, i.e. the putter? And I get a little kickback from other putting instructors because they don't quite understand my brief statement. But the application of hands on the putter grip will change the grip from typically closer to in the fingers to more in the lifeline, and the thumbs will now go down the flat of the face of the putter. But if you use an interlock or an overlap, why not just place your hands on the putter the way you normally place your hands on every other club in your bag? It reduces the thinking, the fiddling, the twitching, and the doubt that can creep into the process of putting a contrived grip on the putter. I also don't quite have a real happy moment, if you will, about a finger down the shaft. I tell everybody, don't give me the finger, because fingers become the fulcrum that pushes, pulls, twitches, and adds loft or steers the putter. When we talk about grip, we really want the hands to be simply the intermediaries between the club face and the shoulder plane. The arms are supple. They hang from the shoulders. There's a natural break in the elbow. The putter shaft comes up the line of the forearm if fit properly, and the eyes are either over the target line or within one ball of the target line.
Yeah.
When we have the grip natural and neutral in our hands. We can feel and move the putter in a very solid manner. Probably one of the largest misconceptions I've heard is to hold the putter loosely. I would rather see a medium to medium firm grip on the putter. Don't want to suggest we hold it too tight and reduce feel, but I don't want the wrists to be flipping and adding loft and increasing launch angle. I'd like to see the hands, once again, simply be intermediaries between the shoulder plane, the arms, and the putter face.
You have often said neutral and natural, right? To me, I mean that's kind of one of your mantras, I think, right? But I think that's what you're shooting for as you're talking about this right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we can just rely on our normal, natural ability to place our hands on the putter, everything from there becomes a product of the non-conscious. All we're trying to do is to make things easy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really think that teaching putting is the easiest of the skill sets that we teach in golf. Full swing has way more going on.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that putting is oversimplified, because, of course, the target gets pretty small when we talk about the cup being 1 degree wide at 10 feet and 1 degree wide at 12 feet being a dead miss.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great, Glenn, about the grip and what you say there. I think more and more people just need to pay attention to the things you're saying. You know, we also talked about possibly mentioning a few other of, I guess, maybe your favorite compensations that you see when you've been out there. And you've worked with, gosh, I don't know if you keep numbers, but I'll bet it's thousands of people on their putting over the years.
The guys in Germany who I work with at Science and Motion Sports, the makers of Sam Putt Lab, every once in a while they'll be doing something by remote on my computer to solve some software issue, and they always comment on the amount of data that I have, because I have every test that I have ever done on Sam Putt Lab over the course of 5 years, and it's really quite amazing that people who come to work with me privately can come this year and come 2 or 3 years later, and I still have their initial report, and we can look at both and compare progress over time.
Yeah. Well, let's get into a couple of those other compensations. How about that?
All right. Well, you know, the major compensation that I see today revolves around path. Mm-hmm. And in a hierarchy of correction, I am firmly in the camp that if we correct faulty path, we correct automatically a number of compensations. So the typical path of the amateur golfer is an out to in cut across, and the compensation is automatic and provided by the non-conscious brain, and that reaction is to hold the face open.
Yeah.
And face angle is 83% of ball direction, yet the remaining 17% causes, or 17% for path, causes ball direction to suffer. And while some have been able to make it very consistent, you know, we talk about the Billy Mayfairs and such, the average amateur golfer up into the collegiate ranks, when I do a collegiate training and we have a player who's got a cut across and an open face, I look to the coach and I ask, does it stand up under pressure? And the head shakes
Yeah.
no. And
Yeah.
Obviously, I use a couple of different path training aids. Most prevalently, the Perfect Stroke out of Australia. My good friend Mark Officer is a PGA member down there who designed and built Perfect Stroke.
Yeah,
And I know
great
you
tool.
have one.
Yep.
Outdoors, I use the Golfer's Toolbox, and what we're talking about here, you can see on my YouTube channel on the on-plane putting video. My YouTube channel is The Putting Doctor, all one word.
Yep.
And on-plane putting is something that I just actually watched a presentation that Stan Utley did yesterday, and he and I are in that same camp in this regard, in that we want to see the putter moving on plane. And when we fix the path to be on plane in regard to the target line and the shaft angle of the putter, it's almost magical that it's a diminished arc, but we see face angle relative to the path become square. And it was interesting that Stan's presentation yesterday, he wanted to dismiss the idea that most folks have of his teaching being that of a swinging gait.
Yeah.
He's one of the most misunderstood putting instructors of note, and he simply states, I want to see face angle square to path throughout the stroke. And this goes back to grip and it being a intermediary between shoulder plane and putter face, in that if we don't influence the putter face with our hands, we can very quickly take a golfer with a faulty path, put him on a training aid, and we show this on Sam Putt Lab almost daily. Putter face at impact gets very, very good, and it's remarkable without instruction how quickly we see a change from a indicated face wide open relative to path to that of being almost square throughout the entire putting stroke. And it's simply a non-conscious compensation. Your brain knows the path of your putter.
To me, that's one of the amazing things about working with people about putting is people really inside know what they're trying, what they desire to do. I mean, they're making that compensation because otherwise they'd be dead, right? I mean,
indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. So let's move on and let's talk about probably your favorite subject, compensations for poor putter fit. The average putter in the rack at retail stores is too long at 35 inches.
Yeah.
The average golfer, once we get them into a proper athletic pre-shot position, very, very often shorten the putter an inch to 2 inches. And there's no hard and fast rule as to how we get to length, but it's more about athletic posture, which lowers the golfer to the surface between spine angle and knee flex, but also how we get the player to be a little bit closer to the target line. The compensation for a putter too long is, well, there are a few, but we find a putter that rotates on a much wider arc, and we see toe up versus soled flat, and we also see a visual misperception, if you will, where the golfer will set up on the toe thinking, because of their angle of view being back away from the target line, that they've lined up with the putter square to the sweet spot. And in fact, they're out on the toe.
I don't know if you remember when you were with me when we did the training, we had one guy that probably was 2 inches long, and he aimed, I think, 7 degrees right. And I play with him all the time. He doesn't have that long putter anymore.
And he's aiming much better, I would assume.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the best thing that I can say to the audience is get fit.
Yeah.
Find a putter fitter in your area, or come and see Tony at Game Improvement in Oak Ridge, and get fit. You have custom fit drivers. You have custom fit irons. Why not custom fit the club you use most? Invest in that club, maybe to the degree that you invest in your driver for 12 to 14 shots in a round.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah. Well, Glenn, let's move on to, one last topic that, as I'm doing these, I'm always trying to put at the end, and that is, and you've touched one of those, some tasks that golfers can do to help them become better putters, specific kinds of things. And I don't like the word tips. Tips drive me crazy, but, actual things. So
I actually got a very nice tip from one of my students who spent an hour and a half here in the Putting Perfection studio. One of the first tips I've received in a long time.
Wow.
Because, of course, I make sure that my students invest in the time with me. But it was very interesting to get a tip.
There you go.
What I guess that I would share with the audience is that my lesson plan, which is available on my website and has been sort of my key to success, is nothing more, nothing less than a focused practice routine.
Yeah.
And if we, through learning design, my education, can apply blocked and random practice and really groove pre-shot routine, we're able to train the non-conscious to simply react to what we see. And the best case in point would be that one of my Champions Tour qualifiers called me from an event to report that he had made 4 putts through his round with no recollection of pulling the trigger.
Wow.
I simply say that is high automation.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. And really what we want to do is to play out of our minds.
Yeah.
And you can take that 2 different ways, but if you want to play out of your mind, you have to do that with a very solid, bulletproof pre-shot routine. So practice is the first tip I would give most every golfer. And the next would be relative to what I refer to as the reference putt. If you would please find the reference putt for your home club, home surface. And when we talk about the reference putt, we want to have a fixed stroke length. And I talk about, and Tony, you know my routine of stroke ratio being 2 measures back and 3 measures forward. In that measurement for the reference putt, on a normal, we'll say inside shoulder width stance, we'll take the putter back to a maximum of the big toe of the trail foot, and that's putter face to the big toe of the trail foot. And we'll make a forward stroke to a value of 3, which would take it just outside the lead foot.
Yeah.
With the ball placed just ahead of center, that gives us sufficient rise to promote a over-spinning ball. We've got a minor forward shaft lean at address as a product of setup, not a trigger. When we make this fixed length stroke do it without a ball for a few times, and feel that 2 back, 3 forward tempo. We've developed sufficient momentum to overcome impact, but we don't have any reacceleration after impact. Now we simply step into a ball. We're not aiming at a target. We're on a flat surface.
Yeah.
We make that putt. That reference putt sights in the distance of the surface, speed, today. And once we get used to doing that reference putt, we can take it anywhere. And when our reference putt maybe gives us 8 feet at home, and we go out to a club somewhere as we travel, and we do our reference putt, and it comes up to 10 or maybe to 6, we quickly realize that we have to adjust our reaction to speed and distance for that day. And we can simply go about doing some simple practice drills to really ingrain the speed of the surface that we're going to play on today.
So actually, rather than jumping out on a new course and spending all this time, making this putt and making that putt, 4 or 5 minutes at the start of working reference putt and ingraining that in your mind.
Well,
right?
As a minimum.
Yeah.
If you're going to a strange club to play around and you don't have either a caddy, a GPS, or a seeing eye dog, you're wasting your money. Please get to the club an hour before tee time. A full hour will give you maybe 45 minutes to practice. That could be done all on the putting surface, but the routine would be to work on putting, next work on chipping, next work on pitching, and then go to the driving range and go up through your bag and warm up. The last swings you'll make would be with the club that you're going to tee off with, typically the driver, and then you're ready to go to the first tee. One of the mistakes I see is the backward warm-up, where folks seem to want to pull out their driver first, and then they'll hang around the putting green prior to tee off and roll 3 balls in various directions, warming up their putter for the tee. And of course, not the club they're going to use to tee off with, but you asked, so
there you go.
Show up early.
Yeah, that's great advice.
I tell everybody if I'm late, chances are I'm not coming.
Well, Glen, this has been, no surprise, a great session. I hope lots of people get the chance to hear this, and I'm certainly going to tell them to do that. You are the putting doctor, and you continue to be. Glen's website is www.puttingdoctor.net, and he mentioned this during our interview, but he has a terrific copyrighted lesson plan and training aid that you get when you order this lesson plan. It's guaranteed to shave strokes off your game and make you mentally 10 feet tall and bulletproof. See, I got that right, Glen.
Yeah, it's 10 foot tall and bulletproof, but no problem.
Oh, no. I had to do that. I had to do that, 10 foot tall. There you go.
Tony, thank you so much for having me on, and I hope that folks will come to see you for putter fitting and know that I'm in Ocala, Florida, right off I-75. I have a wonderful high-tech putting studio we call the Putting Perfection Studio, and I'm at the Oak Run Country Club in Ocala, Florida.
There you go. Thanks again, Glen. Great.
Cheers, mate.
Okay.
See you, bud.
Bye. Thanks again, Glen, for that great interview. You can find out more information about the Putting Doctor and his money-back guaranteed putting experience at www.puttingdoctor.net. Well, that's it for today from the Golf Improvement Podcast. If you've not done so yet, I hope you'll go to my website, www.gameimprovementgolf.com, and click on the link using my website under the About page. There you'll find links to many valuable resources to help you take your game to new heights. And remember that word again, awareness. See you again in 2 weeks.
Game Improvement Golf, your source of information and inspiration to become an exceptional golfer now. www.gameimprovementgolf.com